what would Jesus do?
Right. And it turns you into somebody else. And, there's one thing there's a huge difference between taking some advice or reading some good facts or some literature about something. And in that, the difference between that and I need to be L. Ron Hubbard. I need to be Jesus or whatever. I need to emulate him. I need to follow in his footsteps. I need to act as he would. Well, now you're just denying who you are. And that's not the most healthy, best way to go about living a good life, as far as I'm concerned, at least. I think that there are all kinds of bad consequences down that road. And that's one of the things that you have to deal with people who come out of these destructive cult groups, is you have to get them back to their pre-cult personality. And believe me, that is a challenge and a half when you're dealing with second-gen people who never had a pre-cult personality. So it kind of reminds me that you're talking about people that suffer. Well, they call it the dark triad. Are you familiar with that? The dark triad. It's basically a combination. It's a combination of psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and narcissism. And so the dark triad is conditions for people that have all three. Is like you are the worst of the worst, right? And it sounds like what you're talking about. L. Ron Hubbard literally had all of these. Machiavellian is people that are very manipulative, right? Very non-empathetic, and also guaranteed he was narcissistic. And he obviously had various forms of psychopathy. So, I mean, it literally sounds to me like he is the archetype of the dark triad. Certainly a good candidate for it, if not already on the list. Same with David Miscavige, the current leader of Scientology.
Oh, yeah, we have questions about him as well.
Yeah, it takes a certain personality type to be able to do what these guys do, and it takes a lack of a moral compass, or at least the same kind of moral compass that most people have. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
He's the poster child for a narcissist. I think when you lay out all of the criteria for a narcissist, I think David Miscavige fits that 100%. Did you ever get to meet him?
Do.
I did meet David Miscavige. I met him 3 times over the course of the time that I was in the Sea Org. And, I would agree with you about him. He is definitely in it for him. He's not about anybody else. But it's complicated. Like with everything, it's easy to label, but when you drill down into the details, it gets complicated, But generally speaking, it's a safe label to use with somebody like him.
Sure. Now that you're out and you're doing forms of activism, you're actively going against people trying to, join the church. You want to see those numbers come down. Do you get any kind of threats, or does the church contact you in any way to tell you to stop or anything like that? Are they trying to make you quit out of fear?
Yes. But it's more of an annoyance with me. They don't follow me around or go through my trash that I'm aware of. They might very well be doing that. Hell, they could have somebody living next door to me for all I know. But I've not seen it, and I generally am pretty, focused and try to stay aware of this kind of thing. I get the way it comes to me is bizarre emails, sometimes odd phone calls, but not anything like threatening or anybody breathing heavy or anything like that. Just kind of odd things that happen every now and again. All of it could be somebody else, but why would anybody else want to do anything like that to me?
Right.
I don't have lots of enemies that I know of, but I certainly do have an enemy in the Church of Scientology. So I've structured my life, and I started structuring my life right away when I started speaking out, to have layers and defensibility and various things between me and whatever trouble they could provide or throw my way. And so I've had it a lot luckier than many other church critics in years past, when Scientology was more fanged, when its fangs were sharper. It's been defanged and declawed in a lot of ways because of the internet. What's happened with Scientology could never have happened without the internet. So we've kind of beaten them at their own game, because the one thing L. Ron Hubbard never saw coming, never predicted, never had any strategy for, was the internet. And so when you get things like the Streisand effect, which happened with Tom Cruise's video online, you get things like Anonymous, who hit him really hard in 2008. For that entire year, Scientology was flailing around like a turtle on its back. I mean, they just, flippers up. They had no idea what to do when faced with thousands of people protesting their churches all around the world and internet war being waged on them. They were just, they had no idea what to do, because they couldn't take any of these people and follow them around and make their life hell, because they couldn't even identify who they were. So all of Hubbard's tactics, which are bullying tactics, they didn't work, So I have been the beneficiary of that, because I came out in 2012 and 13 after all of that had happened. And so my activism has not been met with the same sound and fury that people who came before me had to endure. Sure.
And when you say that you said earlier that people live forever, like you are, the fate and spirit goes on outside of the body. With somebody, I guess, that would be considered a prophet like L. Ron Hubbard dies, where is he at now? What happened to L. Ron Hubbard?
Well, Scientologists are nothing if not big thinkers. Okay, you're going to love this. So in the Sea Organization, which was Hubbard's group, it was his own little military, right? I don't know if your viewers know, but it's paramilitary. You have ranks and ratings and uniforms and yes sir, no sir, and all that kind of thing. It was a very structured environment that I lived in for 17 years. And one of the goals of the Sea Org is not just to rid planet Earth of insanity, war, and criminality, but it's to then move on to Target 2, which is another planet. Like, we handle Earth, and then we go take another one. And then we do another one and another one until this entire universe is back in good shape. See?
So Battlefield Earth is not just a documentary, but it's also something futuristic, right? So Battlefield Earth is right. Okay.
I still see idiots.
The worst movie ever made. Sorry, the worst movie ever made.
Oh yeah. Are you kidding? I have posted a video review of that movie, calling it the worst movie ever made.
It's
now. Oh, you're
bad.
Okay. Get this one, guys. When Battlefield Earth came out in the theaters, all of the Sea Org members all over the world, and there's about 5,000 of them at the time. I think we're thinking there's probably down to about 3,500, 4,000 now. But at the time that Battlefield Earth came out, there were about 5,000 of us. We were all given money and bussed down to the movie theaters all weekend long to watch Battlefield Earth over and over and over again, paying for it each time so that we could make it a blockbuster hit. Oh, I watched that movie 5 times in the course of one afternoon, one day.
No way.
Yeah. 5 times. Like hell. And I was so stupid that I didn't even theater skip and go, to say some other movie, because I thought in the world of Scientology, and especially the Sea Org, you get reported on by your fellow members. Everybody's always reporting on everybody else. It's
they do,
kind of environment. So I was deathly afraid that if I theater skipped, somebody would report me to ethics and I'd get in all kinds of trouble. So I endured that movie 5 straight times.
What do they call those things? Observational reports or something?
Knowledge reports.
Knowledge reports. Thank you.
Knowledge reports.
Wow, yeah. That's totally.
Well, that's something familiar with that too. When you do a session like a reading.
Oh yeah.
When you do like a reading, like on the e-meters, right? They record you, or they film those things. Is that in an effort to, at some point, if they need to, use that against you in terms of like blackmail? Like, we have what you said recorded, and okay, that's what I thought.
Yep. They don't generally keep the recordings, the video recordings, for very long, unless there's some particular need to keep a specific recording because there's, thousands of hours of counseling being delivered every week in Scientology. So they're not recording all of it. But when they're in a confessional situation, what they call a confessional, or what they also call a security check, they're using the e-meter to ask you very sharp and pointed questions about your sins, about your crimes, your what they call your overts, the things you're withholding, your moral sins. All of that, everything you say gets written down. So it might be recorded, but it's definitely being all recorded on paper, and reports are written after each session listing out all of the crimes and things that you did. And it's not just, Pete stole a pencil when he was 12. It's exactly where you were, when you were, what happened, who was involved, who almost found out about it, how did you justify and rationalize it? And often you have to get multiple instances of you doing some of these bad things before you get the read you're looking for on the e-meter, where the needle goes back and forth, and it's called a floating needle, and that's when you're done. So a security check could have, could end up with, 10, 20 different reports written about all the crimes you fessed up to in your security check. And all of that is permanently kept on record in your PC folder, your pre-clear folder. And that folder is the property of the Church of Scientology. It is not in any way, shape, or form your property. You sign legal documentation to make sure that you understand that before you start getting any Scientology counseling.
Genius.
I just had flashbacks to when I was in high school, hearing the words, "This is going on your permanent record."
Yeah.
By the way, no such thing existed back then. They lied to you. My childhood was a lie.
Wouldn't you love to get a hold of Tom Cruise's folder?
Oh my God! It would be quite amazing. Yeah.
The guys at the top, like David Miscavige and those guys, the ones who are running this organization, I think it would be safe to say, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that they know that this is bullshit. Like, they have to know that all of this is bullshit. Or do you think that they really believe this? Because in a second, we're going to get to what I've been looking forward to the most, and we're going to talk about the Supreme Galactic Commander, Xenu. But right. Do you honestly think that they think he is a real... Okay, good.
I don't think David Miscavige thinks he's real. I do believe that L. Ron Hubbard thought he was real. Hubbard bought into his own bullshit.
Oh, because he was just... Do you think
if not from the beginning... Well, really? If not from the beginning, then he certainly bought into it by the 1960s. And Xenu, the whole Xenu story is 1967. So, yeah, Hubbard was a true believer. There's just enough inside information and backstory and witness accounts of L. Ron Hubbard's life to know that if he was faking it, he was faking it to literally every single person who surrounded him 24/7.
Do you think that's because do you think he was just going off the rails or something? I mean you have to be pretty mentally.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. He went crazy.
That can I yeah. I think it's one thing for somebody who's already mentally compromised to believe their own narrative, right? Because he came up with this stuff. It's somebody else who is rather well-adjusted to come up with this bullshit and then all of a sudden go, yeah, I actually believe my own bullshit. That doesn't happen very often. It can with some people. They're called shut-eyes when it comes to psychics, but it's very rare when you have somebody with that much bullshittery going, yeah, I totally believe all this stuff now.
Yeah, no, Hubbard believed it. Here's what I can say. I mean, you can never get inside somebody else's head. So all I can say really is that the guy lived his life as though he believed every single thing that he was saying.
How about Cruz?
So, Miscavige, I believe he used to be a true believer. He thought that Scientology cured or made at least manageable his own asthma when he was a teenager. David Miscavige suffered from asthma, and he got some Scientology, and it addressed that, and then he didn't feel like he had such trouble with asthma anymore. Whether that's true or not, whether he cured the asthma or not, I can't say. I just know that that was what he thought.